Hello and welcome to another episode of the UFOcast as Captain Scarlet. This time we are looking at episode 17, The Trap. So this is the third of the four episodes that I had on VHS tape as a kid, so I'm very, very familiar with this one. And it appearing in this order, as opposed to the DVD order, really throws up an issue. And it's not just, I suspect it's not just going to be an issue with this episode. But I'm going to deal with it here and then not talk about it again in future episodes. On DVD, it's episode 7, so it comes early in the run, and it comes, crucially, before the invention of the Mistron detector. And I think it's interesting watching in this order. Since the invention of the Mistron detector, it's actually appeared more than I recalled. And when it hasn't appeared, in last week's episode, there was a very clear mention in the script of why they didn't have one. So it was clear that the script writers, Tony Barwick obviously in overall charge, had an idea of, okay, well, we've invented this thing, which makes sense in the ongoing narrative of Captain Scarlet, but now it causes issues for the Mistrons, so we're going to have to get around it in various ways. And then in The Trap, it's just entirely ignored. This episode would be over 5 minutes in if they just had a security procedure on board Cloudbase whereby everybody coming on board, regardless of who they are, gets Mistron detected. Job done. I mean, that aside, you still have the issue of the fact that Melody is pretty sure she's seen the XQR shot down, and they should have checked that out anyway. But I want to like this episode because it was one that I watched over and over again as a kid, and that was an issue that didn't come up. Because of the ongoing continuity of the series, you weren't thinking about, this episode would be sorted with a Mistron detector. The rest of it is largely fun. It's good. The castle has atmosphere. But Barry Gray's music does a lot of heavy lifting in that scene where Captain Scarlet goes down the corridor and you're like, and he's opened a door, which I think is quite funny. Yes, there's some atmospheric stuff in the castle with him exploring, figuring out what's going on. The green eyes behind the painting are suitably creepy. I mean, you do have the question of, why is he still standing behind the painting in the middle of the night? He doesn't actually need to be there until the conference, but anyway, that's by the by. It all makes it fun and creepy and atmospheric. I suppose the other question is if this is a kind of super important conference, why you only send one person to check security, given that's what Spectrum's job is. But again, that would circumvent the plot, so I will forgive it that. Symphony Angel getting to do some stuff. I mean, yeah, okay, she gets captured pretty quickly, and again, why is there a portcullis inside a bedroom? But again, I'm going to forgive that. I'm going to forgive this episode a lot because I generally enjoy it. And those machine guns, actually seeing the puppet firing the machine gun, technically there's quite a lot going on in those shots, and the whole sort of Captain Scarlet bobbing up and down at the end to get Goddard is a very memorable scene in this episode. There is also the question of, when the dude fires through the painting, why he doesn't hit anybody else, because it appears that he's kind of shot right across the painting. Well, how did they all, not get hit? Unless they dived under the table at that point, which we don't see, because we don't really see Captain Scarlet puppets move quickly in any way, shape or form. It was actually nice to see some walking in this episode, although legs still obscured, because you can't make a Captain Scarlet puppet walk without it looking stupid, which is why they don't. Oh, the Magnacopter. The Magnacopter's fun. I like the Magnacopter. I don't think we ever see it again, but it's a nice addition to the Spectrum set of vehicles. Couldn't quite work out where the cockpit was supposed to be, though, in relation to... I think it's one of those ones where, the cockpit that the puppet sits in doesn't match up with the model. And it's on a postcard, if you have noticed that. But yes, Colonel White does not come out of this episode looking very good, I think we have to conclude, as the one that ultimately the buck stops with. He makes some poor command decisions, which results in unnecessary risk to everybody involved. It's interesting at the end where they say the conference has gone ahead and has been a success. One wonders what actually was talked about and what ways of dealing with the Mistrons have actually been discussed at the conference, and whether anything will come of that. I suspect not, but we will see as the series unfolds, because I can't remember if there is a plot thread there that gets picked up. So overall, I think the episode's gone slightly down in my estimation, just because of where it's now placed in the series. I will stop banging on about the lack of Mistron detectors in future episodes, because I think the series relies on the fact that most of the time a Spectrum doesn't know who the Mistrons are, and if they could figure out who they were, more rapidly, that would defeat a lot of plots, and you wouldn't then have a show. So in universe, it makes no sense, but I'm just going to go with it for the rest of the series. This week's Spectrum agent is Cliff Chapman.
I very much enjoyed it. Captain Scarlet does a castle for Christmas. So Scottish accents, which were decent, I think. I'm not entirely sure they were 100% genuine. Maybe they were. They weren't bad. This is, again, thrilling, pretty violent. And, of course, Captain Scarlet kicks ass at the end. But he's quite vulnerable for quite a while. So with Symphony Angel as well, and him sort of tied up in a cellar for quite a long time, very much Avengers, Perils of Pauline, Damsel in Distress, that kind of thing. I mean, that's the sort of thing that some young people watch and may influence their tastes later on. They may associate that sort of things with thrilling, exciting things. Other people, different people, not me. But yes, it was really fun. Again, terrific model work, looked great, and it's the children's own show that adults adore, I think. So yeah, lots of fun.
And if you'd like to contribute to a future episode of the podcast, please visit ufocast.co.uk/captain to sign up. So I've already alluded to the episode order. So this, as I said, this is episode 7 on the DVD. It comes very early compared to where it finds itself on the Blu-ray. 17 on VHS is actually one of those ones where they actually match. New Mr. On powers, voice impersonation. Goddard is able to perfectly impersonate Captain Scarlet. Whether this is because Captain Scarlet was once a Mr. On, and that they are still able to use his voice, or whether this is a general Mr. On talent that they have not used before and possibly won't use again. I don't know. Mr. On still at large? Well, none, again. And as ever, no Mr. On guns in sight, but Mr. On's still getting killed. So, the Mr. On gun largely ignored. Is this a win or a loss for Spectrum? I think it's a win. The castle gets blown up. Well, I have a recollection, and obviously this is my memory cheating, that I have a recollection that at the end they made some comment about like him now having a ruined castle and therefore would get more tourists. But clearly that was perhaps like one of my family commenting on the episode rather than actually being in the episode. But anyway, there is now a ruined castle which will get more tourism. So it's a win from that point of view. And obviously it's a win because they defeat Mr. On. The Mr. On threat is not carried out. Mr. On puppets, Goddard and his assistant, who I'm not even sure gets named. I've only just watched it and I already can't remember whether his assistant gets named. You will see them both on the Mr. On gallery at UFOcast.co.uk. So that was The Trap. Next week, join me for episode 18, Model Spy. One of the few occasions where the Mr. Ons take over some women, I think.